I'm sorry, Bulls fans, but it pains me to say this, but it's finally time to start rebuilding. And you can look at it from different perspectives. I know my perspective is this. So you have Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, two phenomenal basketball players that can both play on a championship team. They just can't be on the same championship team because they're both third options, maybe second options, depending on how good the supporting cast is. And you just signed LaVine to an extension. You got him for 4 years, but you don't got anything around your starting lineup. Vucevic ain't returning. You ruined yourself with that trade. That was a terrible trade. I had hope when DeMar DeRozan came back, but what has that hope got me? And it's a shame, since at one time you were the 1 seed, and then Lonzo got hurt, and that pained me. And I'm going to give you my bold take right now. Lonzo Ball and his injury problems, I think we may have seen the last Lonzo Ball in the NBA. And I hate to say that, so that's unfortunate. But that's my bold take. Lonzo Ball is done in the NBA because they can't figure out his knee injury. And he's been out for so long that it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Since I feel like there's a piece that we're not being told right now. But it pains me, Chicago Bulls fans. It really does pain me. But without further ado, I want to get right into it. Forgot to start off with the what's goody. So what's goody, everybody? How we doing today? How we doing today? All right. Now we're getting right into it. The reason I consider the Bulls a rebuilding team, it's not necessarily that they don't have a championship level team. As I said, they don't have a number one option superstar. And with the three players that I think they should look to move on from this offseason, they need to be traded simply because of the fact that their value isn't going to be higher than what it is right now, in my opinion. And then you could also lose one in free agency. So if you look at the roster right here, I'm not including Lonzo Ball because, as I said, I think his NBA career is over. But I'm praying and hoping for the best. But I'm not going to be too confident about that. But we're going to start it off. We got Patrick Beverly, biggest pain in the NBA. He's going to be a free agent, so I don't think you've looked to re-sign him. You got Alex Caruso. He is one of the three players that I'm going to look to move on from if I'm Chicago. He does have value for championship desperate teams, so maybe look to get a first round pick for him and some young players. Not necessarily young players. I think Chicago is overvaluing Alex Caruso, and that's part of the reason he hasn't been moved yet. But he has 2 years on his contract, so you can get maybe 2 first-round picks and then however many players it takes to get the money right. Then next, Zach LaVine. Now, Zach LaVine, I think he's a 2 option or a 3 option on a championship team. He's a 2 option if the team has a big three. Like you have a superstar 1 option above him, and then a third option that it could be a 2 option on any other team, but in the team he's on, he's the 3. So I think the team I got getting Zach LaVine is a championship level team making that trade for him, but we'll talk about that later. DeMar DeRozan has 1 year left on his contract. I think you got to look to move on from him because of that 1 year, and his value is as high as it's going to be. But you also got to look at the fact if he doesn't re-sign after the 2023-2024 season, you just had him on your team that's not going to compete for a championship in that season prior, and so you really had nothing to show for the 3-year contract you signed him for. I mean, all things considered, they were first place team and then missed the playoffs. No, they finished sixth. My fault. But again, they lost to the Bucks, and it was like, what happened to Chicago? Well, what happened was when Lonzo went down, their depth went down, and now you got to start reconstructing your team because you're also going to lose 4 guys that are on this depth chart right now, including the center Nikola Vucevic. I don't think he's going to resign. I don't think Chicago should want to resign him because he's going to ask for too much money. There is a team that I think can sign Vucevic, but best case scenario for Chicago, you sign and trade him and you get something back in return, but I realistically don't think that's going to happen. Ayo Dosunmu, I loved him in Illinois, but he's an unrestricted free agent. I think you got to let him walk if you're rebuilding. He's not going to be a superstar, in my opinion, as much as it pains me to say it. Love you, Ayo, but maybe you can be on a different team that's not rebuilding. That's my best hope for you. Then Coby White, I feel like he's the type of guy to ask for too much money. And he did play really well in the play-in tournament. Like, he was the best shooter for Chicago, I think. And it was like, whoa, 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 what's happening here? What's happening here? So I think if you get him back, I don't know. I think that you let him walk. He's an unrestricted free agent. Let Coby White walk. Let him do whatever. Don't overpay for him or nothing to keep him. And then Patrick Williams has a 1-year contract, but you got player options and whatnot with him. I'm going to keep him for this offseason, but I eventually think Chicago's going to have to move on from him if they want to compete. But it'll be also interesting because we are moving Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. What will Patrick Williams turn into in the 2023-2024 season? And then power forward, you don't really got anybody there. You got Derrick Jones Jr. I don't even know if he's on this thing though. And then Andre Drummond, who has a 1-year contract. You're definitely going to have to look to move him, get whatever value you can out of him. And now we're going to look at who they can target. Fortunately for this video, I'm not going to sign any free agents for Chicago because if you're going into that rebuild, you're not going to need any free agents. The only free agents you need to sign is cap filler, and I prefer not to waste all of our time here. So I'm just going to go straight into trades. So this is my first trade. I think you got to look to move DeMar DeRozan. And I think the Mavericks are a perfect team here because Luka Doncic needs a co-star, and I don't think Kyrie's going to re-sign with Dallas. I'll talk about that in a different video, but Mavericks are looking to contend, and DeMar has a 1-year contract, and Drummond here, he also has a 1-year contract. So you're really getting rid of 2 guys that you don't need next year if you're rebuilding. And you're acquiring 2 first-round picks, which one of them is the 10th pick this year. And for the 10th pick, I think they need to draft Nick Smith Jr. here because they need high upside players to draft. So getting a guy like Nick Smith Jr. in this draft, who was projected a 10th overall pick, well, I might have to edit that one out. Projected top 5 pick. He is a very high upside pick, and you're not really taking a big swing on him. Take him at pick 10 because he went from 5 all the way down to 10. And getting him on your roster will allow you to accelerate your rebuilding process because he could be a future star guard. He has a lot of Tyrese Maxey in his game, and he's a little bit taller. So there's a lot of potential to be there. And then you get 2025 first round pick, whoever that may be. And then Jaden Hardy, that's the big piece in this. I'm not really going to talk about Davies Bertans or Josh Green, since Bertans, he's just there for cap filler. But Jaden Hardy, I was so shocked when he fell as far as he did in the draft the other when he in his draft class, because I was like, when I was watching him play with Arenado, I was like, man, this guy can shoot the ball. Like, take a swing here and get Jaden Hardy on your team and see what he can do. Because at worst, he's a spot up shooter for you, and at best, he's a superstar point guard for you that can lead you into your next generation of Chicago basketball. Yeah. Zach LaVine to the Sacramento Kings. Now, some of you might be thinking they're giving up too much here, but this is the move that the Kings need, and this is the move that the Bulls need, because the Bulls can get Keegan Murray, Davion Mitchell, Kevin Huerter, and Richaun Holmes, which I'd look to move Huerter and Holmes, but this is to make the money work. But you get Keegan Murray, who has a lot of upside, and I'd like him in a front court where you have Patrick Williams, and he can space the floor as good as anyone. And I'd like Murray on the floor, especially if you do draft Nick Smith Jr. and get Jaden Hardy. Like, that leaves space for those two guys to get to the basket and operate. And Keegan Murray is a perfect shooter to go along with that. And I think you would look to build around him. And then you get the 2023 first round, which I believe to be the 24th pick, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, you go with GG Jackson here if he's still here, because at South Carolina, he showed flashes of being one of the greatest players in the draft, but you got Wembanyama, Scoot, whatnot, but he fell for lack of consistency. But you got to remember that he's a freshman and he was the best player on a not great team. So, unlike Brandon Miller, who I think GG Jackson could be better than Brandon Miller. Think about that. He was projected higher, he's got a better NBA body, and he can still develop. But Jackson didn't have the Alabama super team around him. So, like, if he didn't play good, South Carolina didn't win. And South Carolina knocked off Kentucky large part due to GG Jackson. So I would take him. This is a high reward pick. So eventually, if you do move on from Patrick Williams, you could have a front court with Murray and GG Jackson in it. And that can be very, very good in the future. So if I'm Chicago, you gotta take whatever you can get from Zach LaVine. Like, I know there probably would be more first round picks in this trade, but I don't really care about filling all that out. I'm just trying to get stuff ready for the 2023-2024 season. You get GG Jackson, come off your bench next year, see what he does in summer league. Maybe he earns the starting spot. And because you got so many young guys, you can afford to not have a center on the court. So you can put Patrick Williams at the 5, GG Jackson at the 4, and Murray at the 3, and then whatever two guards you want. You got a really good young core here. And then on the King side of this, you need more star power than just Fox and Monk. Like, Monk is a perfect six man. I don't want Monk to be starting because I think that will take away a lot of the energy he provided in the postseason. So getting a guy like Zach LaVine who can play the 3 and the 2, you got him, and maybe you have Monk on the court at the same time in crunch time. But Zach LaVine is a perfect fit. He's a shooting guard that can shoot the ball and has a lot of downhill finishing ability. And when you run that weavy whatnot with Sabonis up top, LaVine can catch alley oops. He can cut well. He can playing with Sabonis and Fox could make LaVine's life a lot easier, and I think he could be a 29-point scorer in this scenario because Fox is going to be the main star and he's going to be the best player, but LaVine can do more scoring and less worrying about playmaking. So I love this trade for both sides. Maybe not as much for the Bulls, but I honestly think you need to. I think Keegan Murray is the perfect player to get in return for Zach LaVine. And then, as I said, the Bulls don't have a first round pick of their own. So getting a first round pick to take a high upside player in GG Jackson is perfect. Caruso of Alex. Nah, psych, I'm playing. But Alex Caruso to the Grizzlies. Grizzlies aren't going to sign Dillon Brooks back. Caruso brings the defensive intensity that you need if you're competing for a championship. You can bring him off your bench. You can start him. I don't really care what the Grizzlies do, but I think the Grizzlies need him, especially if they're going to let Brooks walk for free, which I think is dumb, but I get it. He's a knucklehead, and I'll get on that in a different time. But on the Bulls side, Zaire Williams has a lot of upside, and he can play the shooting guard. So being 6'8" and able to space the floor, you can have a really huge forward lineup if you're Chicago to develop. And you also get Jake LaRavia, who I don't know much. I just need to make the money work here. And then the 2023 first round pick, I would go with Jordan Walsh here out of Arkansas. This is 25 pick, I'm pretty sure, and you go 24-25 if you get the Kings and Grizzlies picks. But anyways, having Jordan Walsh, he's a perfect defender. I'm not going to go too much in depth about him, but he can be off your bench. He had a lot of untapped potential at Arkansas, came off the bench. He's going to be an elite role player in the NBA. I don't know if he'll ever reach superstardom, but there's always that potential there with a 6'8" defender. Like, at worst, he's Stanley Johnson. At best, he's Kawhi Leonard. Like, his ceiling and floors are really big. So there's not really a risk here with taking him, but there's a high reward. So I love this trade for both sides. So yeah, after making those 3 trades, no free agents, as I said, here you got your potential depth chart going in, and there's only one familiar face, and it's Patrick Williams. And I think this is a great start for Chicago to go into a full rebuild mode. I'm not necessarily set on how this is the rotation going to be, but it's a look at it, I guess. So at the 1, you got Jaden Hardy. The 2, you got Nick Smith Jr. At the 3, Keegan Murray. 4, Patrick Williams. 5, Richaun Holmes. You need to move on from him. Like, trade him as soon as you can. He's a quality NBA center, and there should be a market for him. Maybe get 1 first-round pick. And then I also have the same thought about Kevin Huerter, who I didn't include on this, but he should get traded as well. Then you got Davion Mitchell. He's got clamps. I'm sorry, but if he has a change of scenery where the best player on your team isn't a point guard, I think he's the next Marcus Smart, in my opinion. And I think he has better defense than Marcus Smart, but that's a topic for another day. Josh Green, he has shown flashes in Dallas. You got him. He's good. Zaire Williams, he's good as well. GG Jackson, as I said, high upside. And then Jordan Walsh, could be Kawhi Leonard, could be Stanley Johnson. And there you have it. Those are your Chicago Bulls for next year, in my opinion. As always, I'm Jay Hoopa, and this has been Bold Hoops with Jay Hoopa. And make sure you like and subscribe. Please share this video. It would mean a lot. Follow me on Instagram at bold_hoops, and a TikTok is coming soon, so stay posted. Also, I'm very sorry again, Bulls fans, especially to you, Kenny. I hope you're watching this, and see y'all later.